Good afternoon. It's time for another video market update. And I thought I would send a couple of accompanying slides as we talk about the four things the market is really focusing on, which right now is stimulus, the upcoming presidential election, economic growth, and the possibility of vaccines. Now, you may have seen this last week. The market was doing quite well. And towards the end of the trading day, President Trump tweeted out essentially saying, let's end the stimulus talk. Let's move on to other things. And the market immediately cratered. It went up 350 points, and after that tweet, it ended up ending the day down 150. But within about a day, President Trump had tweeted he's open to a standalone bill for airline aid and a standalone bill to get checks out to the American people, those $1,200 checks that we saw earlier in the year. And you can see here a rebound in the stock market. It started to tail off a little, and that's because there's a little bit of an impasse between the Congress and the White House in getting a stimulus deal done. And the less certainty we have, the more volatility that we'll see, because the market dislikes uncertainty more than anything else. And one big thing that has led to a lot of uncertainty lately is the presidential election. Everyone, I'm sure, is ready for the ads to be off their TV and for this to be over. But a lot of people feel that there's a certainty, or fairly close to it, that on November 3rd, or whenever we figure out who the president is, that it will be Joe Biden. The Economist came out this week and said there's a 91% chance of a Joe Biden presidency. And with that news, you're already seeing the market come out and say, okay, well, regardless of who's president, we think the market can rise for this reason or that reason. And so we'll see what happens here in a few weeks. We know the polling does not look good for the Trump administration. But it also didn't look good in 2016, and we saw what happened. So we don't know. No one knows. We'll find out here in a few weeks. But the market wants certainty. So the faster we can figure out who is elected president, the sooner the market can figure out which way to go. And hopefully it will be positive, and we'll see some growth to close out the year and start of next year. Speaking of growth, we know the first quarter was bad. We knew second quarter was bad. In the 30% negative GDP, as we heard our CIO, Tom Siamatis, talk about a couple weeks ago. But Bank of America today changed their projection for third quarter GDP. Now they're saying they expect it to be in the mid-20s. Other outlets are saying that GDP growth should be in the mid-30s. So we're going to find out here in a couple of weeks how we ended out. And if we're somewhere in the 25 to 30 range, you'll see some really good news come out. And usually that reflects in stock prices going up. And then lastly, vaccine. We know President Trump and the Trump administration has Operation Warp Speed. They're trying to get a vaccine to the American people in the shortest amount of time and the fastest way possible. As of right now, we know that Eli Lilly and Johnson & Johnson have suspended their vaccine trials because of what they have said is unexplained illnesses as a result. But AstraZeneca has started them back up after also suspending them. So maybe there's some good news. And they're also working on antibody tests, right? You get sick, your body fights it off, if you're lucky enough to have your body fight it off. And they're studying how can we affect people who get it to help them recover faster. So a vaccine will hopefully keep you from getting it, but if you do, this antibody test hopefully will help you recover faster. And I've sent this out in closing, but I just wanted to focus on it again. Right now, we're on the left, right? Everything is very jumbled. There's a lot of movement in the market. But if we have a longer-term focus and we see the growth over decades, we know historically if we stay disciplined and stay actively invested, we know over time how portfolios perform. People overestimate what they can do in days, and they underestimate what they can do in decades. So if we stay disciplined, if we stay according to your plan, if your time horizon is 5 years or 50 years, we know that we can find success. But it doesn't mean that we can't look at the portfolio and that we can't make changes. For many of you, we have. For others, we've made the decision that now is not the time. But if you feel like there's some corrections you might want to make, or just want to talk through a couple of things we talked about, send me an email, give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. Until then, though, if we don't hear from you, make it a great week. Take care.